Soft and bite-sized. Soft and bite-sized foods fall under ITSE Level 6, Colour Blue and Code SB6. Soft and bite-sized food requires some chewing and tongue control to mash and break down the food before swallowing. It is important to know the food must be easily cut with the side of a fork, and the particle size is no bigger than 1.5 by 1.5 centimetres. That's about the size of a thumbnail. The particle size is very important to adhere to, as it minimises choking risk. If by chance the food does get caught in the throat, the size is slightly smaller than the size of an adult trachea or windpipe and reduces the chance of the throat being completely blocked. The food texture must be soft, tender and moist with no separate thin liquids. A knife is not required to cut this food. This texture ensures a safer eating experience while also maintaining visual appeal and joy of eating real food. Soft and bite-sized foods do not include mixed consistencies, that is, food and drink together. It is important to remove any thin liquids, example, thin broth in soups, cornflakes in milk, or juice in tinned fruit. The reason for this is that when we have thin liquid and food in our mouth at the same time, you need good tongue control and lip closure. If providing any sauces or gravy for a person on soft and bite-sized, ensure they are thick. How do we know if the food is soft and bite-sized? There are 3 tests. 1. Food pieces are no bigger than 1.5 by 1.5 centimetres. 2. There are no mixed consistencies, that is, thin liquid with food, example, minestrone soup. Ensure any thin liquid is removed or thickened to the prescribed consistency. And 3, it passes the fork pressure test. That is, a food can be easily cut with the side of a fork, and when a sample the size of a thumbnail, 1.5 by 1.5 centimetres, is pressed with the prongs of the fork where the thumbnail blanches white, the sample squashes, breaks apart, changes shape, and does not return to its original shape when the fork is removed. All meat, fish, fruit and vegetables should be cooked until tender and pass the 3 soft and bite-sized tests. Bread and toast are not suitable for soft and bite-sized, and they do not pass the soft and bite-sized tests. Minced and moist. Minced and moist foods, ITSE Level 5, is represented with the colour orange and the code MM5. Minced and moist foods should require minimal chewing and is not sticky. Food is minced, moist, and does not have separate thin liquid. Any sauces or gravies added to the meal should be thickened to the prescribed consistency. Minced and moist particle size is no bigger than 0.4 by 1.5 centimetres. Small lumps are visible. The pieces of the food must be equal or less than 0.4 centimetres in width and no more than 1.5 centimetres in length. 4 millimetres is the gap between the prongs of a standard dinner fork. Minced and moist foods should require little pressure to mash with a dinner fork and easily pass through the prongs of the dinner fork. This diet texture requires minimal chewing and tongue force to mash the food, making it ready to swallow. How to test if a food is minced and moist? There are 4 tests. 1. The appearance of the food. The pieces are no bigger than 0.4 centimetres by 1.5 centimetres and should pass between the prongs of a standard dinner fork. 2 is the fork pressure test. Food can easily be mashed with little pressure with a dinner fork, and the pressure should not make the thumbnail blanch to white. 3. The fork drip test. When a sample is scooped with a fork, it sits in a pile or mound on the dinner fork and does not easily or completely flow or fall through the prongs of a fork. And 4. The spoon tilt test. The food sample holds its shape on the spoon. A full spoonful must slide off easily when the spoon is tilted or turned sideways or lightly flicked. There should be little food left on the spoon. The sample should not be firm and sticky. A scooped mound may spread or slump very slightly on a plate. Meat and fish should be finely minced, chopped or mashed. Serve in a sauce of mild, moderate or extremely thick consistency and drain any excess liquid. Fruit and vegetables should be finely minced, chopped or mashed. If adding any sauces, drain any excess liquid. Cereals are softened and ensure lumps are easily mashed and no bigger than 0.4 by 1.5 centimetres in size. Any milk must not separate away from the cereal. Be sure to drain any excess liquid. Rice, couscous, quinoa, small pasta may be suitable if not sticky or gelatinous. It can separate into individual grains when cooked and served and moistened with sauce. Drain excess fluid before serving. Serve with smooth, mildly, moderately or extremely thick sauce, and the sauce must not separate away from the rice, couscous or quinoa. Bread and toast. Bread and toast are not suitable for anyone on soft and bite-sized, minced and moist or pureed textures. Pureed. Pureed ITSE Level 4 is represented with the colour green and code PU4. You may have noticed extremely thick drinks are also Level 4 and green, though the drink code is EX4. Take a moment to notice the triangle of pureed PU4 and extremely thick EX4. All ITSE foods are represented with the triangle pointing down, and all drinks the triangle is pointing up. Be sure to note that just because someone may require pureed PU4, it does not mean they must have extremely thick drinks. Check the drink recommendation to know what drinks and foods have been prescribed based on their clinical assessment. What is a pureed food? Pureed food has no lumps and it is not sticky. It can be swallowed whole and no chewing is required. There is minimal tongue effort to move food back to the throat ready to swallow. There should be slow movement of food under gravity and it cannot be poured. Most peanut butter is too sticky and requires increased tongue control and moisture to push the food back to the throat. Pureed food can be piped, layered or moulded, and there is no separate liquid. Pureed can be eaten with a spoon or fork. It cannot be drunk from a cup or sucked through a straw. How to test if a food is pureed? The fork pressure test. When a fork is pressed on the surface of level 4 extremely thick drink or pureed food, the prongs of a fork can make a clear pattern on the surface and/or the food retains the indentation from the fork. 2. The fork drip test. When a sample is scooped with a fork, it sits in a mound above the dinner fork. Some of the liquid may flow through and form a tail, but it does not flow or drip continuously through the prongs of a fork. 3. The spoon tilt test. The food sample holds its shape on the spoon. A full spoonful must slide off easily when the spoon is tilted or turned sideways or lightly flicked. There should be little food left on the spoon. The sample should not be firm and sticky. A scooped mound may spread or slump very slightly on a plate. Mixed consistencies. Mixed consistencies are foods that have food and drink together. Example, cornflakes and milk. Mixed consistencies require advanced oral control and swallow coordination and increase the risk of choking and aspiration. When providing foods for people on a soft and bite-sized, minced and moist, or pureed, foods should not be served with separate liquids that have not been thickened. Any sauces or gravies should be thickened to the prescribed consistency.